Good evening, this is AWANI Tonight. I'm Farhana Sheikh. Former UMNO Secretary General Tan Sri Anwar Musa will not appeal the party's decision to sack him. He maintained that he did nothing wrong and said he still did not know why he was sacked.
Saya telah buat keputusan, saya tidak akan merayu. Kalau merayu ni kita, pertama nak merayu ni kita kena tahu salah. Kemudian kita nilai betul kita salah atau tidak. Kalau kita tak salah, kita merayulah atas benda yang kita tak salah. Tapi sehingga hari ini saya tak tahu, saya tak ada pertuduhan. Tak pernah panggil, tak pernah tanya, tak pernah question, tak pernah minta penjelasan, lisan atau bertulis. Panggil secara sahabat pun tak ada. Sedangkan dalam MKT itu semua kawan-kawan saya. Nobody asked me anything.
Last week, UMNO Secretary General Datuk Sri Ahmad Maslan confirmed that Anwar and two other divisional leaders, Maran Wanita UMNO Chief Datin Sri Fatimah Kasim and Ara Wanita Chief Datin Sri Shamsia Yassin, were expelled from UMNO. Anwar, who was also dropped by Barisan Nasional as a candidate in GE15 earlier, had been with the party since 1979. Anwar said his focus will now be on his party, Muafakat Nasional, with some notable leaders joining him, such as former Ampang MP, Datuk Zuraida Kamarudin, and former Tanjung Karang MP, Tan Sri Noh Omar, among others.
The Communications and Digital Ministry is looking into the possibility of reducing the prices of services offered by telecommunications companies or telcos. Its Minister, Fahmi Fazil, said he is in discussion with the Communications and Multimedia Commission, MCMC, and the telcos about conducting a study on the matter.
Fahmi said this would fulfill the aspirations of many young people who are hoping that the prices for internet can be reduced, while teasing a special announcement in the coming weeks. Fahmi added that he was also studying the best ways to improve the quality of services and resolve issues concerning 4G and 5G network reach in certain areas. On tackling issues of cybersecurity and data protection, Fahmi said meetings will be held with social media providers and online retailers regarding the matter.
The Education Ministry intends to bring back the National Education Advisory Council. In a press conference today, its Minister, Farhana Sheikh, said that the Advisory Council will help the ministry to shape ideas and strategies for the trajectory of the country's education.
Buat masa sekarang kita belum ada nama lagi, tapi kita sudah pun umumkan, maka proses itu akan kita laksanakan dengan pelantikan-pelantikan yang akan menganggotai Majlis Penasihat Pendidikan Kebangsaan tersebut dalam masa terdekat. Terima kasih.
Fadlina said the council will also be responsible for the continuity of the Malaysian Education Blueprint, which will end in 2025, adding that the Education Act 1996 provides for the establishment of the council. In 2018, the Education Minister, Mazli Malik, had appointed 11 people to the council for the 2018 to 2020 session, chaired by former Education Director General Wan Zahid Nordin.
Home Minister Datuk Sri Saifuddin Ismail acknowledged that certain provisions in the Security Offences Special Measures Act 2012 or SOSMA will need to be reviewed from time to time. However, he said there will not be any amendments to the Act for now. On Tuesday, Saifuddin said that he does not intend to review SOSMA and that unlike the Abolished Internal Security Act 1967, it does not provide for detention without a trial. He stressed that the law is still necessary to tackle organised crime-related cases. Damansara MP Gobind Singh Deo, meanwhile, had urged the minister to reconsider his stance on the law, saying it contradicts Pakatan Harapan's long-standing view that SOSMA is oppressive in nature. He referred to Section 4 of the Act, which permits a person to be detained for a period of up to 28 days and for detention without access to court. PH had voted against the motion brought by the previous Home Minister, Datuk Sri Hamzah Zainuddin, to extend the clause in Parliament back in March. Giving the opposition meaningful roles to participate in policy making is the way forward in ensuring stability of the ruling administration, says political analyst Dr. Wong Chin Huat. He discusses the benefits of establishing a shadow cabinet by the opposition.
What this government, this coalition government, need to do is to give a meaningful role to the opposition. This is exactly what PH 1.0 under Tun Dr. Mahathir refused to do. Instead, Dr. Mahathir wanted to break up PN and UMNO. He successfully encouraged the Borneo parties to leave PN and up to 17 UMNO MPs to leave UMNO. But the outcome of that, the unintended consequence of that, is that UMNO saw itself having no chance of coming back to power on a middle ground. This government must confer a role of His Majesty Royal Opposition to the opposition. It should recognize shadow cabinet, allowing PN or the parliamentary opposition leader to appoint for every ministerial portfolio a shadow cabinet, a shadow minister who would enjoy not just policy researcher support, access to necessary government information, but also a fraction, for example, half of a minister's salary, but no other perks. What is important is to manage public expectation of government. When opposition is not given responsibility, all the public would look at is the government. When government make any mistake, they would think and say, let's just try the opposition. But they wouldn't know whether the opposition is actually better. But by appointing a shadow cabinet with salaries and resources, people can judge and say to what extent the opposition is up to the bar.
160 Rohingya refugees are believed to be stranded at sea on a damaged boat with depleting food and water. Will Malaysia help? Tonight on Consider This, we asked Lilian Fan why so many are risking deadly sea crossings and how to avoid a repeat of the 2015 Andaman Sea crisis. We'll go for a quick break. Stay with us.
Abang kamu ada je yang tak kena. Hari tu,
wish laju. Mari. Sebab tu, plan dia sekarang ni paling laju. Ada macam-macam. Hebat RM10 pun dapat. Lepas tu, opah ni, awak pun nak juga kan?
Nampak gaya dua-dua ni nak Digi Fiber. Adik pun berhajat nak talent family kan?
Ceritanya semua orang nak.
ini pelan yang terbaik untuk keluarga. Baik untuk keluarga.
This is our home.
I need you with me. And I need you to be strong. Strong-hearted.
Avatar: The Way of Water. Only in cinemas.
Welcome back. Restoring investor confidence and increasing foreign direct investments remain on Malaysia's top agenda to sustain post-pandemic recovery. Dr. Juwita Mohamad from the Institute for Democracy and Economic Affairs, or IDEAS, lists out what the government should focus on to shore up confidence.
Transparency, clarity in policy recommendation, and also clarity in policy direction, and also policy execution is very much needed. Communication on the new government's direction may be on the economic direction or its plans for social upgrading are very much needed as well, not just to give more information to Malaysians, but also for foreign investors so that they can plan and organize their business activities and also their investment activities. Improvements on transparency in political financing measures, especially, and on transparency in SOE operations and reporting are very much needed to curb corruption and leakages that we have seen in the past to be burdening the taxpayers through their tax contribution. U-turn of ratified FTAs or significant changes in investment policies should also be avoided. Here, continuity of vital industrial policies is very much needed for stability, not just for businesses within Malaysia, but also for FDIs across the board.
Malaysia has much potential to offer when it comes to attracting foreign direct investors. But according to Dr. Juwita, there is still room for improvement to remain competitive in the long term.
Not just on natural resources, on palm oil or petroleum, we also have a very strong manufacturing sector. And this has developed our industries quite well. And as well, it has also carved and developed our export activities quite well as well. But I do have to say we need to improve on productivity. We need to improve on the adoption of digital technologies to remain efficient and also competitive in the medium to long term. So when we look at the structure of our economy, we see that our services sector is very big in terms of GDP contribution and also in terms of employment, share of employment. But for now, we are not exporting our services product as much as we can if compared to our electronic and electrical goods components. So we do have startups as well in fintech sector that are competing within and beyond the borders of Malaysia. So I find that we do have a lot to offer in terms of our exportables. We just need to strengthen our capacities to be more competitive in the next few years to come.
On to the international front, China raced to vaccinate the most vulnerable in anticipation of COVID-19 waves in weeks to come. Analysts expect death tolls to soar after the country abruptly turned away from its strict zero-COVID policy.
The World Health Organization has raised concerns that China's 1.4 billion population was not adequately vaccinated. But China said around 90% of its population has been vaccinated, and its National Health Commission yesterday announced it would roll out the second COVID-19 vaccine booster shots for high-risk groups and elderly people over the age of 60. The latest official data shows China administered 1.43 million shots on Tuesday, with a total of 3.45 billion shots administered so far. However, the country has cited low vaccination rates among the elderly. Beijing last Wednesday dropped strict testing requirements and eased quarantine rules that resulted in mental anxiety for tens of millions and damaged the economy.
Meanwhile, a 6.2 magnitude earthquake jolted Taiwan's eastern coast today. The shallow quake was followed by multiple aftershocks, with tremors felt in the capital, Taipei.
The quake hit just after midday, about 30 kilometers off the coast of Hualien County at a depth of 6 kilometers. It was reported that buildings in Taipei shook for about a minute and the subway briefly paused operations to ensure passenger safety. There were no immediate reports of damage or casualties. Some earthquakes of 6.0 magnitude or more can prove deadly, although much depends on where the quake strikes and at what depth. A much stronger 6.9 magnitude tremor struck Taiwan's eastern coast in September, killing one person and bringing down a handful of buildings.
That is all we have for you on AWANI tonight. I'm Farhana Sheikh. Thank you for watching.